Hey, what's good, y'all? Today's video is going to be a little bit different. And one of the most important things to note is that you're not actually going to hear that vegan teacher speak, at least not much, despite this being a video about that vegan teacher. And I know some of you are like, oh, what a relief. Glad to hear that, Omniking. Keep them coming that way. And I wouldn't blame you if you felt if you felt that way. But what's happening here is vegan teacher is responding through text to a debate that Chip the Vegan was having with non-vegans. I don't know what the obsession is with debating people for vegans. It's like they just have so much to prove so bad, and they're like, debate me, so I can gaslight you and lie and not actually have a debate, because the point of a debate is to discuss ideas openly, not to, berate people and call them stupid and things like that, like many vegans do in debates. Debating a vegan is like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. It doesn't work. No matter how many good points you use, no matter how much evidence you provide, they're still going to find a way to call you an animal abuser at the end of the day, or use some kind of ridiculous analogy like, what if space pirates from the 11th dimension came here, would you kill and eat them? It's like, bruh, what kind of crack are you snorting, and where can I get some? I'm not even making that shit up. This is the kind of stuff I've actually heard in vegan debates. They will go to great lengths to try to create a false equivalence fallacy that's supposed to checkmate you, and all it does is make them look silly and stupid. That's when you know you've won, but for some reason they're still figuring it out. Anyway, let's get into it.
If you'd like to talk, I can explain the argument to you in a different chat, but I think Chip is just gonna...
What did I make that was unfounded? What presupposition did they make that was unfounded?
So she kind of like starts off in like the middle of the debate. So they're debating like God or something, and like how God's like evil or bad or whatever. And he's like, Chip the Vegan, I think, is trying to explain why, his design would be better than God's. And you guys already know this argument a little bit. You heard vegan teacher talk about with her, God's either drunk, stupid, evil, dead, or smoking crack, something like that.
There can be no good reason for evil to exist. I think that's just wrong.
I was just saying that I could create a possible world that's more compassionate than the one that God created by not making our selected species, making them all K-selected. It would be more compassionate. The fact that he didn't do that,
dude, the copy and paste is so cringe.
Like, he's not all loving. It's fucked up.
It's like a fucking AI.
How so?
Well, the one possible world has a lot less suffering than the other. A lot less needless suffering.
Yeah, but I don't think when God creates that, he's just doing like some mathematical calculation, or else we would have like infinite people or something like that, like when God like chooses to create
here's another easy one.
He created...
Just make no carnivores, make all the animals herbivores, then you have no animals ripping each other apart. So easy.
And
Look,
give
I'm
them
more compassionate than God.
And give them an inner limit. Just say no more than 100 members of the species, no more 1,000 members of the species. Just you can literally, like, that's the most simplistic way you can do it. And
what? Excuse me? You just put a limit. Well, what happens when you cross that threshold? Does your like baby come out and then just like explode, or is it just impossible for you to get pregnant? What if you want to have a kid? Like, I don't think animals like would really understand that, like, or human beings for that matter. Like, what are they talking about? This doesn't make any sense at all. He's like, oh, you just put a limit on how many animals of each species can exist at a single time with magic. The cool thing, like, what the fuck? Like, the cool thing about the world that we live in, regardless of whether, you believe in a God or you don't, the world works on fundamental physics, right? The laws of the world and nature, obviously. Doesn't get much more complicated than that. To just somehow have this arbitrary magical barrier that stops species from reaching a certain number is like an interference of some type of black magic or something, like that's not really consistent with the natural world that we live in. Also, let me just make this point as someone who is not religious. If there is an all-knowing, all-powerful God, right, and they designed the world exactly how it is, then our interpretation of morality is worthless. How could our interpretation of morality somehow be greater than the creator of the universe who created the concept of morality? Clearly, if then the creator of the universe has decided that killing and eating animals is not immoral, then just us deciding that it is doesn't actually change anything. Because morality is arbitrary, but if for us, because we create our concept of morality, but if there is an objective creation of morality created by a God, then it doesn't matter, because anything that we say in the realm of morality is nothing more than subjective, so it's worthless. Like, what is the point of a discussion, an argument like this when it's so purely hypothetical and it's so antithetical to any sort of logic and reason? How does that help you convince someone to be vegan? How do you debate with this type of weak, useless arguments, this type of weak, useless discussion? If you want to have a debate with someone who is a staunch Christian or something like that, and they're using God as the vessel for why consuming animals is correct and why the design of carnivores existing or whatever is correct, ground your argument. Why am I giving them advice? They might use this shit. Hold on, I'm gonna say it anyway. But ground your arguments in reality, in tangible, logical statements that can actually be performed and observed. The only problem is when it comes to this type of discussion, you really don't have anything to work with, because the circle of life is a circle of life, baby. There ain't much you can do about it.
It's the circle of life.
Hey, what's good, y'all? Don't mind me, just a quick interruption. I would love to see some support on my main channel. I've actually covered a video that doesn't really have any place here, in my opinion. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, because there's some overlap. It is about an influencer who has been involved in extreme dieting over the years. She has allegedly been on a weight loss journey for 12 years, but it has been the exact opposite. And she has become a serious internet lolcow. And I made a video kind of diving into the accountability of it all and exactly, what she has been doing and what this means for her and her future, that kind of stuff. So if that sort of thing interests you, you might have heard the name Amberlynn Reid.
I do want you guys to know that I'm the queen of moderation. I lost 89 pounds before.
My favorite snack is carrots and ranch, but I didn't have carrots. I had this pizza and I didn't have ranch, but I had the Cool Ranch Doritos. So
by all means, go take a look at that video on my main channel. It's either up there, in the comments, at the end of this video, in the description. You'll be able to find it. All right, back to the video.
And yet again, we're all idiots compared to the all-knowing God. So why wouldn't God do something better then?
Chip, I have a really good idea to make a compassionate world. I'm going to make this creature, it's called a sea turtle, and 99% of them get ripped apart alive on the day they're born. Isn't that so compassionate?
Hell yeah, that's compassionate.
That's such
So
a
is it
compassionate
two
thing to do.
vegans? One non-vegan right now?
Yeah. That's the only compassionate thing.
She's so lame, dude. Stop typing.
And the fact
Her
that I don't
typing's
know what the
pissing
good
me off
reason
right
is,
now. Such a
and that
loser.
there is a God just means there has to be a good reason. I don't know what it is, but
Just
it's out
copy
there
and
somewhere.
pasting bullshit.
Meanwhile, I'm gonna keep eating bacon.
Which means
Yeah,
gassing
bacon's delicious.
pigs to death.
I hate when they make gassing or whatever procedure seemed so terrible. It's these methods that they use to kill these animals are deemed the most humane, right? The most humane, the most practicable, right? What would you like the alternative to be? Would you like that every single pig gets in a single file line and gets stabbed with a spear? What do you want here? Do you want them to suffer more, or do you want them to suffer less? I mean, you're vegan, right? I'm assuming the answer is suffer less. So then why do they always complain about the least painful methodology for killing the animals? Obviously, I know the answer to that is they just don't want the animals to be killed at all, because they, for some reason, can't face reality and the fact that the vast majority of human beings on this planet cannot thrive on a vegan diet and therefore need meat to be healthy, to be strong, to live a long, fulfilling, wonderful life. Some people can get by on it. If you've got the genetics of the gods of Olympus themselves, then sure, you can probably survive on rabbit food, but that's not all of us. It's not even most of us. And they can sometimes accept that there's people who have certain conditions like ulcerative colitis, but oh yeah, they can't be vegan because they put a carrot in their stomach and they shit it out in the next hour because they can't digest it properly or something along those lines. They'll acknowledge that, but they're but you're not them. And it's yeah, that's an extreme exception, obviously. But then there's also the very normal, common spread problems as well of people in general not being able to extract nutrients from plants nearly as well as they do with meat. How can you ignore hundreds of thousands of years of evolution where humans have thrived on consuming majority meat for a good while? Not all of our history, but for a good point, especially during peak Ice Age times where accessing plants was basically an impossibility. So they had to survive on whatever wild animals they could find. I mean, we developed like the strongest hunting method ever seen by the animal kingdom. That's the exhaustion thing. It's what led to us evolving so much, was the constant need for movement, to be nomadic and traveling all the time. That's what led to our bipedal motion. That's what helped us develop bigger brains when we started cooking our foods, not just the meat, but also the plants. But we decided to cook the meat because it was better for us. Like, we made all of these selective evolutionary choices, and they think that after all of that, right? After all of that, we can just decide, you know what? Never mind. We don't have to do that anymore. Doesn't work. Doesn't need to be done. And again, while some people can get away with it, it's just not meant for human beings, sadly. I'm afraid the future that you're going to see, no matter how many years into the future you look, is always going to be one where animals are consumed by human beings. You could argue that after, maybe thousands of years of solely eating plant-based, right? If the humans just for thousands of years did it, despite many, dying, the traits would then be reselected to favor people who thrive well on plant-based foods. But who the fuck is doing that, Like, do they want to see progress thousands of years in the future? Well, they can't, because you're not going to live that long. They don't. They want to see this happen overnight, and it's unfortunately evolutionarily impossible. But hey, these types of vegans don't give a shit about science.
Sending them in gas chambers.
Yeah, meanwhile, I'm going to go pay the butcher to gas pigs to death for my taste bud yum-yums. Because God, though, or some fucking
Such
shit.
losers.
Bruh.
My taste bud yum-yums. Dude, you just sound like such a
literally, I felt to see
militant
how a
asshole.
compassionate individual would ever tell you, no, please, kill these beings. I made them with the capacity to feel pain, but you should inflict that pain on them.
Such is life.
It's just illogical. And I wouldn't think you think your God is logical. So let's just move on.
Well, he
okay?
said he said it was rational and logical. I'm waiting for the syllogism.
Sure.
He said
But
it was
then-
like
We can join a
logically
different chat.
prove
Let's join a
God.
different chat. Let's join a different chat.
yeah.
Well, I mean, we're just waiting for the justification for why you gas pigs.
I'm so
to death.
angry and using
Yeah,
What's the
sarcasm so
justification
much.
for gassing pigs to death for taste pleasure?
Okay,
See,
now
that's
we're
the
talking
problem. That's the problem right there. They don't actually want to have a constructive debate, because then they use language like this that is extremely biased and manipulative. Saying, what's your justification for gassing pigs for taste pleasure? You should be debating whether or not quote-unquote gassing pigs is for taste pleasure in the first place, not already making that biased assumption that favors the vegan argument. It doesn't make sense. Answering that question in any way, shape, or form is a lose-lose, because even if you somehow justify for taste pleasure, it doesn't justify for need, right? And that's what you would really want to be arguing, is the necessity for it, not the commodity of it. But of course, because the vegans believe that it's a commodity, they want you to argue for the commodity, which is incorrect. It's a very improper, manipulative debate tactic. You set your opponent up to fail. And it's not surprising, because these types of vegans are willing to do anything they have to get their way, even basically lying or manipulating their way through a debate just so they can get that dopamine hit of, ha, I schooled him. But in reality, they've accomplished nothing, because allegedly their goal is to convert people to being vegan, to argue their points, to get people to see their point of view. But you haven't accomplished that. You've got them to acknowledge a warped version of your views that doesn't assist them in understanding or caring about your ultimate goal. So in reality, when these vegans participate in these debates, the only person that genuinely loses is them, because they have a goal, they have something they want to get out of it, and they never get it. Their goal is to convert you to being vegan, and by the end of the debate, you're going to go and eat twice as much steak. They've lost every single time, even if it makes them feel like they've won, because all that really matters to these types of vegans is the feeling. It's the feeling of winning, the feeling of getting over on you, and the feeling of checkmating you. And that's why, honestly, the best way to debate a vegan is by not debating them. That is literally the best way to debate a vegan, because not only do they lose by not converting you to being vegan, they also lose by not getting that feeling of winning. And even if you were someone who's an absolute expert and you come out swinging with the best, most concrete points that have no counter argument, they will still find a way to make it feel like they've won by ending the discussion by simply saying something along the lines of, "You're still an animal abuser." And then they run with it like it's a fact. As I said earlier, debating a vegan is like trying to put out a fire with gasoline, or like trying to cook a steak with cold water. You are never going to accomplish that.
Are we gonna go back to the other argument where I said
how is it justified? How
Dude,
is
her
it
little
justified
notes are
for
so
you
annoying.
to gas pigs to death?
There's actually shit that she has on the right here too that she keeps chaining out, but I've like deliberately not showing it to you because it's so fucking annoying. But I guess for the rest of the video, I guess you can see it if you really want to. I mean, I don't care. You do what you want to do.
For taste pleasure.
I mean, it's not just for pleasure. Like
Exactly.
it fulfills a need in our, nature.
Which need is that?
Food,
I have food,
survival.
and I don't gas pigs to death, and I survive. And I don't gas pigs to death. So
Anecdotal.
all my survival.
Anecdotal. How much longer is that gonna last for you, buddy?
I would say that's a supererogatory virtue. Like you can do that, but you don't need to.
It's
abstain
super
from meat.
it's super erogatory. Super erogatory.
Yeah, what you said.
So you think it's just a moral good to avoid gassing pigs to death, not a moral obligation? what you're saying?
I mean, it could be good insofar as like you are doing so out of just out of like genuine love. Like for example, Saint Francis of Assisi, he like famously was a vegetarian just out of care for animals. But if you do so out of just a disregard for the natural order, then I would say that's not good.
Oh God.
Wait, do you think the natural order is breeding pigs into existence and throwing them into gas chambers?
I mean, I would say the natural order is that animals exist in part for the flourishing of humans, in the same way plants exist in part for the flourishing of animals, and water exists in part for the flourishing of plants.
I mean, a little bit bummed because the challenger here doesn't have like the strongest arguments. I mean, they didn't seem to have really come that prepared. It's unfortunate, but they always debate people who aren't prepared. And it's because they don't care. They don't care how prepared or how knowledgeable the person is. They just care about that dopamine hit of that checkmate that I mentioned earlier. That's all that really matters. So it doesn't matter who their challenger is. And it is unfortunate because the guy doesn't know what to say here. So he looks like a deer in the headlights. And while the vegan person gets to just berate them like, a seasoned veteran in the art of war. But I will stand in for this guy here, right? So he is trying to make that argument that consuming animals is a necessity, that it's natural, whatever, that it's not just for taste pleasure, right? Let me clear the air on what they actually should have said about this. And it's to the similar effect of what I said previously, but I'll dial in on a specific aspect of it. And first off, let's make a very logical, biological argument, right? You look at the body of a human being, right? Our whole digestive system. It is not designed to properly digest plants, right? We have made very serious compromises in our digestive system over the time of our evolution, right? There was a point where we were definitely better at digesting plants and things like that, but never to the degree of an actual herbivore like a cow. See, the difference between a cow's digestive system and ours, the cow's digestive system is much, 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 much longer, and it also has components to it that actually allow it to convert things like fucking grass into genuine nourishment for their body, something that human beings can't do, which already tells you we're not herbivores, but a goofy vegan still thinks that we are for some reason. Then you take it a step further and you make the comparison between our digestive system and like a wolf or something. There's actually quite a lot of similarities, believe it or not. In fact, our stomachs is a great starting point in how high the acidity is. How low the pH is the better way to put it. We have a very, very low pH, very acidic stomach. In fact, humans can actually eat a lot of raw meat. There's a reason for that, and it's because humans, before cooking, consumed raw meat, and we've kept that ability throughout our evolution. Now, obviously, I don't recommend eating raw meats. There are still some serious issues that can come with it, just how a wolf or other animals can still get parasites despite being carnivores from eating raw meat. It just depends on what's present and depends on whether or not their body can fight it off. So, with that being said, what you really have to understand is humans really are not great at taking nutrients out of plants. We're not. In fact, some people lack the ability to take certain nutrients out of plants altogether. Vitamin A is one of the biggest examples of that. Vitamin A, in its truest form, only exists in meat, right? Plants have a different version. It's called performed vitamin A, which is actually a beta carotene that gets converted into the nutrient. So it doesn't actually have the nutrient itself, just a beta carotene that gets converted, right? And some people are almost completely incapable of converting that beta carotene into vitamin A. So if they went vegan, they'd effectively have no vitamin A, find themselves going blind, having brain problems, a whole list of issues, because vitamin A is important for certain things. And that's just one example. B12 is another one where the difference with B12 in a supplement versus the B12 you get from animals is actually that the B12 is attached to proteins. And because of the proteins and the shape of it, some people get much more value out of the natural B12 in animal products than they do with the supplements that do not have those proteins. I mean, I could keep going on and on and on, but this is the type of argument that you want to bring, because what do they really have against actual facts and science? Nothing other than more moral arguments, because they'll always just take this on a different route of like, oh, okay, well, if it's okay to eat animals, why is it not okay to eat humans? Then you have a whole nother different annoying argument on your hands, which is why honestly it's better to just not debate them. It's not going to make a difference for you. It's not going to make a difference for them. Literally nothing effective comes out of debating a vegan. It is the greatest waste of time you can get engaged with.
To feed animals, right? That's like just part of what it means to be that kind of being, and it is part of the larger natural order.
The natural order is to breed pigs into existence that would otherwise not exist, keep them in cages, rip their teeth out, rip off their balls without anesthetic, and then throw them into gas chambers. That's the natural order. Got it. Okay.
Now that's a false equivalency. You're making an argument about.
Wait, how is that a false equivalency?
Factory,
how is that a false equivalency?
Because you're making an argument about maybe factory farming. I'm just saying.
Oh,
Do
no.
you, well, oh, sorry. I didn't listen to the earlier conversation. Do you avoid factory farmed meat?
Not really.
Oh, so it isn't a false equivalency. Oh,
That's
I'm
so
gonna use a logical fallacy term.
This isn't how you debate. You don't like belittle the person's arguments like a child. You respond with dignity and respect, and this person lacks that ability entirely. They are not a debater. They should be ashamed of themselves of conducting themselves this way. Clearly, they are prepared for this debate, right? This is what they do. They love debating people. It's like a hobby for them. And so when you bring someone on who's not used to doing it, of course, they're going to make mistakes in the things that they say. That doesn't give you the right to act like an attack dog and come after them like they're some sort of illiterate moron, when in reality, they're just not somebody who has practiced with articulating their thoughts in a meaningful capacity in this type of setting, and they don't know how to. So they're going with whatever comes to their mind, which might be inconsistent with what they really want to say. So we're going to kind of skip over this and we'll see what the next argument is.
Do you think it's kind if I walk around with a knife and just stab random animals in the throat because I somehow might benefit from it?
No, and you see how I am like making this distinction that we should not go around and just gratuitously kill animals just for some sick,
But that's what you do.
pleasure.
But that's what you
Kill
do.
Animals out of
You do it out of what?
You're just doing
You
it
think
for
I
some
like it?
sensory pleasure, though. You're just doing it for some sensory pleasure.
Yeah, let's
You don't
make it
have
really
to do
simple. You have two choices. You could be vegan or non-vegan. Why are you non-vegan when you can be vegan? It must be taste pleasure, right? You're just doing it because it tastes good?
I wouldn't necessarily just say that. I'd say it as like okay. That's the whole point I was making earlier. As part of the natural order, the like plants fulfill a certain nature above them, right? So
God.
animals eat plants to sustain themselves.
Jesus.
So in the same way, In the same way, like
Why do you
herbivores
buy? No,
exist in the
So
woods.
you're going to a super. Like the question is simple. You're going to the supermarket. In front of you, there's a product.
Oh, she just, by the way, on the screen, vegan teacher mentioned like iron. That's actually such an interesting one, and that statement I think is true with when paired with vitamin C rich foods, it's absorbed better. Yes, there's also other things in plants. I'm not sure, I can't remember exactly what they are, that actually make it more difficult for you to absorb iron too. So it becomes quite a challenge to properly balance those things, especially since it's going to vary from person to person, which is why it's globally recommended that if you are going to be vegan, that you need to have a dietitian in your corner pretty much at all times to make sure that you are actually eating properly and getting everything you need. Because of the restrictiveness and the limitations of the diet, it can be extremely, extremely challenging to actually get everything that you need, especially when you're cutting out such a major, important, vital food group, you know, meat and stuff. And then what that leaves you with is extreme difficulty for getting that proper balance, which is one of the major reasons why so many people who go vegan develop health issues very quickly or later on in life. And it's a real thing that vegans like this like to ignore. They just say, oh, they did it wrong. Well, if like 90% of people stop being vegan, then you're saying that 90% of people just did it wrong? Make it make sense. The problem is that it doesn't.
That exploited and slaughtered an animal, and on your right side is that product, and on your left side is a product that did not exploit and slaughter an animal. Both of them provide you with nutrition and taste. Why do you choose the one that exploits and slaughters animals?
Yeah, I guess I like it more. It is very nutritious and good for you.
How is it compassionate to choose to kill animals because you like it more? How is it more compassionate? How is it not even more? How is it even a little bit compassionate to make that choice?
Like I don't think we should be compassionate to animals as if they were persons.
So you should not be compassionate to animals.
All right, we're stopping right here. So this is a checkmate, right? They got him in a moral checkmate because he doesn't know how to handle this. And I've already explained to you guys how you handle this. I know it's a little bit more complicated. Like, you actually have to use facts, knowledge, and research to properly fight back. And I'll also keep it real. Most people don't think about this stuff at a deep level. Like, they're not thinking about the actual health and nutrition things like I do, right? Because I make this type of content. So of course I'm constantly looking into that stuff and getting a full grasp and understanding. Because if I'm going to come on here and say that you don't need to be vegan, right? It's not like a necessary thing, and you're not morally worse than a non-vegan you're not morally worse than a vegan for choosing to eat steak over tofu. Like, there's got to be some backbone to that, right? And that's why I always present that before you guys. Now, I will say that even if you don't have that knowledge, your body does. Your body is typically drawn to what it needs, right? Look at cows, for instance, or typically herbivorous animals. Sometimes if they're lacking certain nutrients, they will chow down on a small animal like a mouse or a rabbit or something completely unorthodox, something completely unexpected. And that's because their body understands, hey, we're low on protein, we're low on B12, we're low on something, we're low on iron, and that rabbit has it. So we're gonna go and eat that rabbit. It's an interesting behavior, but it's a truly observed one in herbivores. It's very natural. And that's just one example. There's many, many, many more. So I think even with human beings, the reason that we're drawn to meat is because of how nutritious it is. And this guy was kind of on the money when he said it's very nutritious, it's very good for you. He's right in a sense. Obviously, you know, red meats can come with their own like different area of problems, but it's not a nutrition problem. But when it does come down to nutrition, a steak is infinitely more nutritious than a carrot. You know, there are some fruits and vegetables, mostly fruits, that can compete with certain, you know, meats and stuff like that. Like an avocado, for instance, is very nutrient dense. It is jam-packed. It's got fatty acids and all kinds of stuff. But a steak or like chicken or a fish, like there's so many things in those foods per serving or per, you know, ounce or whatever. And 99 times out of 100 is going to triumph over any fruit or vegetable. And I think, generally speaking, your body is typically drawn to the most nutritious option. Obviously, this is going to vary from person to person, but I think naturally, your body is typically going to be drawn to what is going to sustain you the best. Which is why I would say most people, despite not thinking about why they prefer meat to plants a lot of the time, it's probably because of its natural components, but obviously there's more to it. There's taste as well. A lot of people say a steak tastes better than a carrot, and fine, that might be a prerogative. I don't agree necessarily. I like plants just as much as I like meat, if not more sometimes. It depends. Like, for instance, I don't eat most meat. I pretty much only eat chicken and fish, and occasionally bacon, like once in a great while if I go out for breakfast, just because it's more of a nostalgic thing for me. But anyway, that's really all I got to say here. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. See you guys next time.